Now we have 50,000 records, and we will sell it worldwide. 1 year later, it was a golden record hanging in Graceland. And my name was on it, on the backside. I wrote the liner notes. Well, I'll tell you, it was a dream come true about a dream I've never dreamt.
And thank you for that. Should we not give a hand for that statement?
Thank you.
But because of the success of Volume 1, I guess they called you and said, Helmut, we need another one.
Yeah.
What?
They said, do you have more songs to make a Volume 2? And I said, yes. And we were also looking for a rare cover. And I also wrote the next liner notes. This time we found on it some songs that were before on boxes, but they were deleted and so never available at this moment. And so they are rare again, and so on. Yes. And another thing is
details.
They printed the liner notes in English, sometimes in German and in English, and so it could be sold worldwide.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not only made for Germany now, it was made to be sold.
They were pressed in Germany, of course, and later we found some CDs of it. But they are really rare.
We have
They
one
are
at
really
the store.
rare.
It's no promotion, but
They were only pressed
only one left. So
by the German.
it's very rare because it was made for like a book company, or it was made for like
Yes, the book company, Bertelsmann record company. It was only pressed 1,000
copies.
Not only of these ones, but they gave 30 CDs. I guess 2 every month. And normal price, but only 1,000 pieces.
And you have to remember, because it was back in the how we would say it was the birth of music on CD, so the market was not that big at the time.
Yeah,
so
CD that started in 83. Another thing, a friend of mine, Heine, he, you know, it was not, over there. It was not planned, this one here. So I could have brought my copies with me, and I have special pressings of it.
You didn't tell Heine about that, right?
If you look at the label, it's the Norman RCA label. And when I got those, I got these white pressings, that was not proofed. And I had to
Test pressings.
Test pressings, yes. I had to listen to it if there were all the songs that I picked. And one day I was laying the record on my player and I was listening to John Denver. That's it. Before pressing, they had to listen to. And if it's right, then it goes in the pressing.
In the processing, yeah. So Helmut, producing Elvis, being an Elvis fan, did you ever get to see Elvis? Did you ever manage to go over there and see him?
No, what a pity.
We let Paul Granlund do that, right?
When Elvis was in Germany, I was too young. My parents said, no, you cannot go to, but now you're too young. And when Elvis died, the first thing I planned to fly over to Memphis and so on. That was in '78, but I never saw Elvis live. What a pity.
But you know what? You have done this. You're an amazing guy. You are a very friendly guy too. But you are an amazing promoter for Elvis. What you have done with all these records, with your radio shows. What people don't know is that you are actually also a recording star yourself. Yeah, you were. I know you're shy now, but also a radio personality. You did radio shows, and I know a lot of people was listening to Helmut Rademacher or Hellraider or whatever you were calling yourself at the time, and you were promoting Elvis. You know, I want to thank you for that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
It's really, you know...
Helmut Rademacher is a long name. From Helmut, and Raider from Rademacher. That's short. That's a great name.
That's a rock and roll name, Hellraider. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand for Hellraider, Helmut Rademacher, aus Deutschland. Thank you for your story about this.
And so we did the big screen show, and we finished. We came back to the hotel. And we would all kind of gather downstairs, like some of you all come out and sit with us at the hotel and visit. That's what was happening. So it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and everyone starts to break up and head off to bed. So Joe slipped out first. And shortly after that, everybody else did. Well, Joe goes up to his room, and he calls Judy, his wife, on the phone. And you know how that goes. Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now? No. Okay. He gets over. Now, he's already got his shirt off. He's wearing his underwear and black socks. Not a pretty sight. And Joe, he's walking over to the door, and he opens the door to his room. He says, "Can you hear me now?" Says, "Oh, perfect. Great." So they start talking, and he's leaning, talking to her, and all of a sudden, click. And he's standing in the hallway. His cute little underwear that you can't see because his belly's down here. And his black socks. And he said, I looked and I thought, what am I going to do? All of a sudden, this maid turns the corner and starts walking down toward him. And he says, "Hey, can you help me get in my room? I locked myself out." She says, "No, you'll have to go to the desk." Really? So he goes over. Now, this is Joe telling the story. Joe says, I walked down the hallway, and he said, I peeked around the elevator entrance. He said, I went in, and he said, then I went over, and I punched the down button, and I ran back behind the wall to see if anybody was going to be on the elevator. He gets on the elevator, he goes down, and he said, I just knew everybody was going to be in the lobby. And he said, I peeked around the door, and everybody was gone. The lobby was completely empty. And he said, oh, thank goodness. So he goes walking up to the desk, and it was one of those really tall desks. So he's looking over the desk like this. And he says, hey, man, I locked myself out of my room. I need a key. And the guy says, could I have some ID, please? He said, man, I'm standing here in my underwear. So he gets the information that he needs, and he gives Joe a key. So Joe goes back upstairs. But the funniest thing about this story is the next morning he came down to breakfast, and he's telling everybody about it.
Yeah.
And Glenn D. Harden was over there just dying, laughing. And when he finally composed himself, he said, you know what I love about old Joe? He said, if that had happened to me, I wouldn't have told a living soul. No. But this is the funniest part. This is the funniest part. He says, well, you know, had this been in 1970, he said, I'd have been walking in the lobby going, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, sign that autograph. Take a picture? Sure, honey, come on. But that was Joe. Well, you all remember Joe. He was a barrel of fun. And I can tell you, too, Joe loved the fans, didn't he, Terry? He loved coming out here, and when his health just kept him from coming, when we got back home from a trip, we'd call him and tell him, so-and-so said hello, and here's hugs from these people. And so he really appreciated all of that. But we miss old Joe.
Yeah, we sure do. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the Imperials. Sure, and Judy?
I'm sorry? Our grandmother, yeah. Oh, what an awesome woman. Yeah. She was the matriarch of the family. She ruled with an iron fist. She was loving and caring, but she was funny. And she, like I said, she ruled the house. And if she wanted something, she got it. I remember one Christmas, it was so funny. Because what do you buy a woman who's got everything, who wants for nothing? Elvis bought her a hot plate, trying to think about, her in her room. She could set her coffee on it, keep it heated. And he brings it in. She says, "What's this?" "It's a hot plate, Dodger." "What do I want with a hot plate?" "Well, I thought you could keep your coffee warm." "No, I don't want it." "Okay, Dodger, what do you want?" "I want money."
Yeah.
"And what are you going to do with money?" "I just want some money." "Okay." So Elvis leaves, comes back. He's give 5 $100 bills. "Okay, Dodger, here's you some money." "I don't want it now. If I have to ask for it, I don't want it."
Excuse me, that sounds like a woman. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Those are fighting words.
I know. I will be punished for that later.
So she throws it in the floor. Yeah. "Will not allow anyone to pick it up but Elvis." It's left laying there till he picks it up. Trust me, he picked it up. But it was just a funny thing. I mean, that was just Grandma, I mean, I called her Dodger half the time. I called her Grandma half the time. But she was just our whole world. She meant everything to me and Elvis. And when he was younger, he had a nickname for everything. He called water duckling. He called milk butch. You don't know where he came up with these names. I mean, he was creative even as a child, and different even as a child. He had certain glasses, a certain glass, a certain plate, certain utensils that he ate out of. No one used these but Elvis. They were put in a little cupboard strictly for Elvis. But that was just nicknames. So apparently he couldn't say grandmother. It came out Grand Dodger. So it just kind of shortened to Dodger. So, he called her Dodger. And since I spent a lot of time there and, especially to keep her company when Elvis was on tour, I started to call her Dodger. But basically we were about the only two that actually did. So, yeah, but she was awesome. Such a loving and wonderful woman. And she actually came to Germany, when Elvis was stationed in Germany. She actually came with him because he wasn't leaving her behind.
Good question, Judy. I like that. Any other good questions?
Yes?
There's no bad questions, actually.
Yeah, no bad questions.
Heidi?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he was not the carefree, fun-loving guy that he had always been. He loved his mother deeply, and it left a huge hole in his heart when she died. But he and his father were very, very close, and he was very, very close to the rest of us. So it was like, he was very saddened by it, and he missed her greatly. As my mother died in 1994, I miss her every day. So it was just one of that. We were such close-knit that it left a huge hole in all of our hearts. Anybody else?
Yeah.
This king keeps coming off.
Sorry? Yeah.
Well, I truly think that Elvis gave so much of himself away that, and didn't leave a lot for himself. So I think possibly it could have, but He was such a charismatic and wonderful human being, and felt like he was put here on earth as a vessel from God to touch other people. And look, he has. So 40 years after his death, we're all still here. It doesn't matter about your religion, what faith you are, what color you are, what nationality you are, what financial system you come from, whether you're very, very rich or very, very poor. We all stand here shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, for the love of one man. He brought us all together. He's still touching lives every single day. Even though he's not physically here, his presence is always here, and it's always with us. So what kind of legacy is that?
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions? Okay, let's, after all these years, like you said, in a little bit, Elvis will have been, he will be dead as long as he lived.
Yeah.
What surprises you the most? I know you pretty much have said a lot of things about it, but what surprises you the most being here, watching that 42 years after?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I know for a fact that Elvis never believed that, you know, even 6 months after he was gone, that anybody would ever remember him. But when you are so used by God to touch people and used as a vessel to come in their hearts and touch them where they live, you know, it's, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. It's just, it's a phenomenon. How can you explain a phenomenon?
Yeah, that's true.
So I really don't know. It's just one of those things that has happened and continues to grow and grow. You know, it's not like when we die out, the older generation, that he's going to be gone. When I went to Tupelo the other day, there were kids singing Elvis songs. I came back through Memphis, stopped at Rock and Roll Cafe, which is just down the street from Graceland now. There was a 10-year-old kid on stage, and he was an Elvis tribute artist, 10 years old. You know, so, and he was good. It's continuing on and on and on and on. There have been books, many, hundreds of books written about Elvis. And there will continue to be hundreds of books written about Elvis because he's still affecting lives. There are courses in college that are being taught on Elvis Presley. I mean, what else can you say? Yeah.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna Presley.
But this one night, I thought, oh, I wish she would. And it was a few nights after the first concert, and I thought, I wish he would sing a song to me, maybe. Wonder if I could ask him, and kind of feel in the moment, you know. And so after dinner, I said, would you sing a song to me? And he said, sure. Which one? And I said, Can't Help Falling in Love. Because I was going to take those words and own them, no matter why he was singing it. And so he took my hand, we stood up, and we danced, just slow dance to, and he sang Can't Help Falling in Love.
So I should have been singing the other night. That was
That's
what you were
right.
expecting.
I was
I'm sorry.
waiting for the song to come.
Yeah, sometimes you don't get the signs right, but...
And hearing those words, I just, you know, closed my eyes and just dreamed that those were written just for me. Because you live in that moment. That's your time, and you just let it be however you want it to be. And whether it ends or not, you've got those memories in that time that just, you know, special things that stand out. And when we got to that first concert, that second night, I didn't know the protocol, so he had to tell me, always do everything we tell you to do. Excuse me, because this is for your safety. Stay alert and be where you're be where you're supposed to be. So we would get there early, and he would go to his dressing room and send me to my seat a few minutes before it was time for him to go out on stage. And there was always just a little single seat, either on a little platform or sometimes right in like what an orchestra area would be. And they would sit me there, and he said, somebody will come and get you before the show is over, and you have to be ready to run, because those seconds between Elvis has left the building and the time he actually leaves the stage are extremely kind of dangerous. You know, the crowd is ready to try to run after him, so you have to make sure you're waiting. And they literally, we go through the tunnel, and literally I could feel him picking me up and throwing me in the car, like literally throwing, because it's so fast. And then he gets in, and then a guard gets in, and they slam the door, and then they're off. And sometimes you can't move because the car has already been surrounded by people before you can even start to drive. And people come to the windows and bang on the windows. He told me the reason he wears sunglasses all the time was to protect his eyes, because people grab at you or breaking glass could get in his face. So that's why he said it became a habit. It looks cool too, but it was another safety measure. And but I remember when they took me and seated me, and he went in the dressing room to change and everything, and then that music starts, you know, the light, and da 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 da, and I'm going, wow, this looks like it's going to be really awesome. And then he comes out on the stage, and then he is Elvis the performer, not the man that I had just been sitting by in the car. I mean, he is the same man, but that whole performer comes out on the stage, and I am just amazed. His energy and his, I mean, he's low-key in the car. When he gets on that stage and the music starts, he is all about it. And even if he didn't feel good, he would just put everything out there. He would get this surge of adrenaline from the feedback of the fans. And then at the end of the night, they grabbed me and we went and got in the car. I noticed that he had little scratches on his hand and his lip was bleeding. And he said when he shakes hands, you know, he'll let some women come up to the stage and shake hands, and so he let a woman kiss him, and she wouldn't let go, and it split his lip. And they just grabbing at him. He had little scratches that were bleeding on his hands, and that's how he got the little bruise on his fingernail. And I'm like, you've been doing this for, what, at that time, 20 years? And doing it, knowing what's coming, doing it again and again for the love of his fans and the performance. And he was not bothered by it. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. But he was not in the least affected because he understood they didn't mean to do that. They weren't trying to hurt him. They were just trying to love on him. And but he you know, it was all about performing for the fans and never getting tired of it, no matter how he felt in the morning or at night beforehand or what kind of emotional upset there might have been. There always was drama when you have that many people. And I tell about the night with the Sweet Inspirations in the book and all that he did to try to repair the hurt that they felt from the words that he had said in jest. And, you know, if you know guys very well, sometimes their humor is funny to me, but it is to them. You know, they have a different way of expressing or trying to be funny, but he would never hurt. He stayed up, if you're familiar with the story, when he said those things and they left the stage, I think 3 of them left the stage, and he didn't know till he turned around and he saw there's one person there. And I'm like, he is in a concert. How unprofessional. Now, this is my opinion. No, I'm not casting any, because if that were me, I might have left stage myself. But I'm thinking, this is Elvis, and this is the concert. This place is packed, and could you not just stay till you were done and then talk it over after? But, you know, that's their personal feelings were involved, but when the show was over, we got in the car, he was livid. I mean, the heck hit the fan. Everybody was yelling and crying and upset. We get back to the hotel, and he said, I'm going to have to ask you to stay in your room for a little while because I've got a lot of work to do. He called them in one by one, and they sat in there for hours, almost all night long, with him trying to apologize and repair the damage that his words had done to his friends. He loved them, and he wanted them to know he loved them, first and foremost. Second, we got a show to do. You know, let's just get through this, and we're friends. Friends hurt each other, and friends can make up. And I remember that night he gave JD he took a ring off his hand and gave it to JD because JD stayed on the stage. He didn't leave him or walk away. And JD said, you don't have to give me anything. I'm here for you. And he gave that ring back. And he said, you don't have to reward me for this. I am here for you. And so in the wee hours, everybody was okay again, and lots of jewelry was given out. And the next night, the show went on. So, you know, he was human in every way, like we are. But when he does something, it's kind of like, he's not allowed to be human or less than perfect. You know, if I did that at home, people would be like, oh. But if he does something, it's like, oh, you know, the end of the world. But, and some of that is what brings people to end careers early or their lives end early, the emotional toll that it takes and things that you do to get past hurts or lack of rest or, you know, a busy schedule, things like that. But anyway, that was an endearing moment to watch him get into an argument and do everything in his power. Because you know what? He could have said, y'all go on. I'm going to hire for. There is a line a mile long of people who would have come on that stage and been a backup singer for him. Don't you know it? But that's not what he wanted. He wanted to make that right. He wanted them. He loved them. And I hope that, you know, they all felt that through their lives. But so...
Yeah, no, but I think we will, because that was good. That was a great... You know what? I knew about that incident, but I didn't know anybody who could tell me what happened afterwards. And I think that's pretty cool. Not only that we got the story, but it tells a lot about Elvis, how he was as a person. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I have to be the party pooper or whatever you call it. This is it. Please give it up for Diana Goodman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
And if any of you missed